Well, he definitely doesn't look like it. Richard Watterson is actually one of the strongest characters in all of Elmore, to the point where he can run at the speed of light, rip car doors off like they're nothing, destroy entire universes, and so much more. So today, we're gonna go over his 7 different levels of strength to find out how strong he really is, starting with his normal state. And in this state, his strength is anything but normal, although maybe not in a positive way. At 1% power, he unlocks the ability to do something no human has ever done. No one believed it was even possible. He beat the game no one has ever beaten before. Calculator. Or as Richard calls it,
calculator.
Richard is so dumb. His sheer dumbness while using a calculator managed to explode his computer. In the episode The Brain, it's confirmed Richard's brain is smaller than amoeba. As we will see later in this video, Richard is able to destroy the entire universe by just existing. He is completely unpredictable, and that's the strength that's the most terrifying. But now we're on to 5% power, and things from here are really gonna start to get crazy, as with his newfound strength, Richard gets karate skills that matches Nicole's, super strength, and so much more. In the episode The Remote, he rips the car door off with his bare hands, which already puts him well above the average person in terms of strength. But then he proceeds to catch a remote in slow motion and somehow manages to run about 2 to 3 times faster than Gumball and Darwin, which is pretty impressive considering his size. And I was curious about how big Richard really is, so after a quick Google search, I found out he weighs a staggering 3,108 pounds. Him running at that speed, considering his weight, is super impressive, and not really even physically possible, which just shows how powerful Richard really can be. Bro is literally defying logic, but that's not the only thing he does in this episode. Later on, he gets in a fight with Nicole over the remote, and as we can see, he actually keeps up with her pretty well in this fight, which again is super impressive considering that Nicole is literally a master at karate, compared to Richard, who straight up just sits on the couch all day watching TV. It is crazy to me that Richard can do all this. But what's even more insane is the powers he unlocks at 10% power. And in this state, Richard is really starting to do some damage. And we start to see this in the episode The Joy, in which Gumball and Darwin wake up in a really bad mood on a Monday morning. But Richard, seeing this and being the good dad that he is, decides to give them a hug. But not just any hug, a wonder hug, which seems pretty innocent at first. But it turns out later in this episode, the joy virus that Gumball and Darwin got from Richard's wonder hug starts spreading to everyone at school, causing a weird zombie apocalypse type outbreak. So far in this video, we've seen Richard create new viruses, master karate skills, super strength, and so many other crazy things. But now we're about to ramp it up by going to 25% power, where Richard can lose weight and become chiseled like a Greek god. In the episode The Diet, Gumball and Darwin force Richard to go on a diet because bro is just eating too much food. But Richard took the diet too far and accidentally became super ripped, which would usually be seen as a good thing. But instead, he became super egotistical and started traveling around the world and being a public nuisance. And eventually, this goes too far, when he goes to a house that's on fire and starts posing as a sexy fireman, with the only hose to put out the fire in his hand. And what's even more crazy is the fact that he absorbs this taser like it's breakfast.
Oh my gosh, it's just making his abs more defined.
But then Richard remembers about food.
Could also really go for a taco right now. There's this place I know where they toast the tacos first, then maybe a burger.
But now we're on to 50% power. And this is where his strength goes from, yeah, somewhat possible, to being a straight up cartoon god and breaking the laws of physics. And in the episode The Console, we really start to see his true strength. Basically, for the concept of this episode, the world of Elmore is an RPG video game. Everyone else has pretty normal powers that seem in line with their character, like Nicole having the I'm not angry, just disappointed attack, and Carrie having the stop hitting yourself attack. But then Richard comes out being like 1,000 times bigger than the boss, looking like a god, and uses his Ring of Fire attack. which deals the last blow, completely destroying the boss. And if specifically him turning into the most powerful creature isn't saying enough, there's more. For example, another episode which shows Richard's dumb levels of strength is in the menu, and it starts with him relaxing on the couch, just to randomly get up and run through hundreds of buildings and a boat like it's nothing. Speaking of which, bro was running so fast he was running on water. But how fast was he really going to do this? Well, right after we see him run through the boat, we see that a camera on Elmore Highway captured him running at 200 miles per hour. And I was curious, so I looked it up, and you would have to run 11,180 meters per second to generate enough force to run on water. And considering he was running at 200 miles per hour on the highway, that means he was only running at 89.41 meters per second, which means Richard must have been running at 25,005 miles per hour, which is 6 times faster than the sound barrier. Anyways, it turns out Richard did all this just because he overheard Gumball talking about a secret item on the Joyful Burger menu. So after this, he sets out on a mission to find out what this is. And it turns out the only way to do this is eating a burger from every single Joyful Burger in town. So Richard does this, and in the meantime becomes morbidly obese, all just to find out that the secret item on the Joyful Burger menu is just kind of a normal burger, except with slightly more diabetes. It's actually crazy to me that Richard Watterson can eat this much food without dying. That's gotta be a power in itself. But things are about to get a lot crazier, because now we're on to 69% power. Nice. But on a serious note, there's a scene in the box in which Richard completely defies the laws of reality. Let's break this down, because this was a lot. For some context, Richard was speeding down a highway to save the president from some robbers. But thankfully, my boy Richard Watterson is somehow able to use his crazy driving maneuvers to swerve the car without stopping at all, jumping out of the car, canceling all his momentum. But to make it even crazier, then he dodges a rocket from a rocket launcher, beats up a dude with insane karate skills, and then completely rips off a steel door from the president's vehicle with his bare hands. All of the things he did here are completely impossible to do as a human, and I believe this is only a fraction of Richard's true power. But now, let's try our best to understand how powerful Richard truly is using 100% of his strength. And we see this in the episode The Job, where, as the title implies, Richard gets a job. But there's a problem with this. Because Richard is the laziest man in Elmore, the universe literally can't handle him getting a job. So the universe starts breaking around him. The weird things start with it always being night at food and stuff, snowing in June, and random senior citizens floating. After the Wattersons find this out, they have to stop him. So they get on his tracks and have Larry held captive in the car. And the reason they do this is so they can get him fired on the spot and prevent breaking the universe. But this wouldn't be any easy task, because the closer they get to Richard, the more the universe starts breaking around them. And as he's about to go to the door to deliver his first pizza, it seems that the universe will completely collapse if he delivers this pizza. And in this moment, all hope seems lost. And when Richard gets fired, the universe goes back to normal. Richard is literally so powerful that the universe cannot handle him having a job. Well, I guess that's one good excuse for not wanting to work. But because you watched all the way to the end, just subscribe.